Any comment on this debacle that happened?
Speak to SuperSport.
Just speak to SuperSport. Thank you.
Nick Mallet, Naas, Botha and Ashwin Willemse summoned to SuperSport over Saturday's on-air spat. The broadcaster says they don't believe the incident was racially motivated.
One, the murder of Rudy van Breda, the accused is found guilty. Count two, the murder of Martin van Breda, the accused is found guilty. Count three, the murder of Teresa van Breda, the accused is found guilty.
Henry van Breda found guilty of murdering 3 members of his family and attacking his sister, and then trying to cover it all up by claiming they were victims of an intruder. This is eNews at 8. I'm Sally Burdett. Good evening. To our top story now, and it's the on-air incident that took place on Saturday night on the SuperSport channel. Former rugby player Ashwin Willemse walked out following a fallout with colleagues Naas, Botha and Nick Mallet. Now, MultiChoice and SuperSport have responded. I'm joined now in our studio by reporter Shahid Joseph. You've been on the story all day, waiting since 9 o'clock this morning for that bite, which came through at about 6 o'clock. Before we chat, let's listen to exactly what the CEO said.
You see, from the observation of today's discussion, there is no racism that we picked up from any of the discussions that we have had, and do not see it anywhere in the discussions that we have today. So as far as we are concerned, it's people that got into some discussions of some sort, but are still digging deeper into getting into the underneath what really happened and what transpired to lead to this type of action, because nobody walks off stage just for the sake of walking off stage. There must be something deeper, and we are saying we're engaging all parties to get to the bottom of this, and once we have finalized this issue, we'll be able to give out answers.
So what's going to happen here? 3 men were courteous. They don't think it was racially motivated. Careful to say at this stage, of course. What is at the heart of this? Is there any clue at this stage?
Well, we can't say why exactly Ashwin Willemse walked off, except for what he said. He used the words undermined, apartheid as well, and being labelled a quota player. So we can only imagine what was said to him off air or behind the scenes. According to the 2 CEOs, they were quite courteous with each other today. They've agreed to work together because Super Rugby continues this weekend, and that was one of the questions we asked them. Will they be on air this weekend? And they said, well, as things stand today, they will be analysing the games together.
Now, it's interesting, you were part of the journalists who door-stopped, or should I say lift-stopped, Nick Mallet. Let's take a look at that clip right now.
Don't do that again, please.
Any comment on this debacle that happened?
Speak to SuperSport.
Just speak to SuperSport. Thank you very much.
The journalists there were clearly still pressing that button to keep the door open, and he was getting irritated. Is he a stern man by nature? Is he normally quite different in his disposition? Did he seem stressed to you?
Well, I've spoken to guys that work at SuperSport, and they say, yes, he is the alpha male type. What he says goes. And I believe Ashwin Willemse is the same type of guy. So that could have maybe led to what happened on Saturday night, that they both, know what they want, they know what they want to say, and they don't like all these interruptions. Right there, we were told that the 3 of them would be at a press briefing, and then all of a sudden we see Nick Mallet walking past us, trying to get to the lift, and that's when I shot him the question, but obviously he didn't answer as well as we expected. And yeah, that was it, and then we had to speak to the 2 CEOs.
And let's just take a look at a clip from that incident on Saturday night, just to get a sense of the energy levels on Saturday night between the men.
I think for me, I've had my fair share. I can't work with people that undermine other people. And you can sit and you can laugh about it.
I'm not laughing about it.
But you know exactly what happened. It's fine. It's fine. I don't mind it being ridiculous. I'm glad it happens on air so people can see. Because you 2 sit here. No, it's fine.
I'm glad it's happened on air so you can see they're going to have to work together. What do we know? There's so much speculation. Let's cut through that. What do you know? What do we know about the relationship between Nick Mallet and Ashwin Willemse?
Well, I saw a clip from 2014 where Ashwin speaking is analysing a game and Nick interrupted him on 2 occasions, and you could see Nick wasn't happy. That happens most Saturdays when they're speaking about the game, analysing it. There's a good banter between the 3 of them. One is always trying to prove a better point or maybe even agreeing with each other. So that's what happens most Saturdays. But what happened there, again, I say it happened off air, and we can only speculate as to what Nick or Naas said to him prior to that happening.
Thank you so much. That was our sports reporter Shahid Joseph. He's been following the Willemse walkout, as we're calling, and what's behind it all. Still lots to uncover. SuperSport tonight saying they don't believe, however, that it was racially motivated. Well, let's move now to Cape Town, and murder accused Henry van Breda has been found guilty on 3 counts. That's, of course, the triple murder that occurred on the luxury De Zalze estate in Stellenbosch in January 2015. Henry van Breda has been found guilty of killing his mother, Teresa, father Martin and brother Rudy, also found guilty of the attempted murder of his younger sister Marley and of defeating the ends of justice. Judge Siraj Desai spent the day dismantling the defence's case, and in court watching that is our reporter Arti Nasi. Good evening to Arti, joining us now from our Cape Town studio. Tell us about the moment that Judge Siraj Desai made his judgment.
The atmosphere in the courtroom, Sally, was absolutely chilling, particularly that moment when Henry van Breda stood up in the dock with 2 officers behind him to hear his fate. Let's take a listen to Judge Siraj Desai as he made that verdict.
The accused is found guilty. Count 5, after considering all the evidence, the result is inescapable. As a family man, it's difficult for me to say so. It is the only possible inference. In the premises, count 1, the murder of Rudy van Breda, the accused is found guilty. Count 2, the murder of Martin van Breda, the accused is found guilty. Count 3, the murder of Teresa van Breda, the accused is found guilty. Count 4, the attempted murder of Marley van Breda, the accused is found guilty. Count 5, defeating or obstructing the administration of justice, the accused is found guilty. That is the unanimous decision.
Arti, this is a man who practically wiped out his entire family. He stands in court, he looks completely impassive. Was he like that all the time? Was there any reaction from him or family members, his girlfriend afterwards?
Well, for most of the duration of this day, Henry van Breda was in almost a sedated state, Sally. We once or twice even caught him dozing off. We're not sure if he's on some sort of medication, but there was absolutely no expression, not a sense of a tear when the judge read out that guilty verdict. His girlfriend, who was sitting not too far behind him, however, was in tears. And unfortunately, there weren't many family members in the dock. And for most of the day, it was expected that this verdict was leading towards this, when Judge Siraj Desai mentioned that Henry van Breda did not come to the rescue of his family, and it would seem odd that such a luxury estate like De Zalze would be penetrated by an intruder who went unnoticed and who also didn't bring a murder weapon to the home. So it all seemed bizarre, and at the end the judge found that his story could not be reasonably true, and hence the state obviously proved its case beyond reasonable doubt.
You've been following this trial throughout. After this entire trial and this judgment, do you have a clear picture of why Henry van Breda did what he did?
One thing that hasn't been crystal clear is the issue of motive. There was a book written about the axe murder trial alluding to a drug addiction on the part of Henry van Breda, and that there was arguments leading up to the attacks between him and his father in relation to him being disinherited from the family money, but that was not proven in court, and that was not that motive was not highlighted. What did come out, though, is that there was definitely some sort of anger. Judge Siraj Desai saying that it was indeed a very frenzied attack and an attack of anger that was premeditated. That means that there was obviously that thought process of planning and having to carry out this murder.
Thank you so much. That was our reporter in Cape Town, Arti Nasi, on the guilty verdict today handed down to Henry van Breda, accused of killing, or rather found guilty of killing 3 of his family members. Well, now 2 Durban and 2 children have died after a wall collapsed on them in Durban's Kennedy Road informal settlement. Today, our reporter Desin Thathia is on the scene. Good evening to you, Desin. It has been an utterly tragic story, these 2 little ones who were killed. Please, could you tell us what we know about what happened and how the little girl who managed to survive this is doing in hospital, the one little girl?
Sally, I'll tell you this much. The Clare Estate community is in mourning this evening after losing 2 very little members of the neighborhood. They were just 5 and 7 years old, and we understand that another 5-year-old was injured, but fortunately she wasn't very seriously injured and she's in a stable condition. In fact, just here to my right, Sally, is a reminder that there were these playful girls on this driveway only hours ago. Their bodies have been removed just about an hour or 2 ago now, and we understand that they were here and they were swinging on a gate that runs across this driveway, and that's when this wall behind me, Sally, collapsed and it crushed 2 of them. There was also a 4th child who very sadly witnessed what happened to those 2 girls here. And we spoke to her very briefly earlier. In fact, neighbors were saying that she's going to need counseling because she's very shaken by what's happened. And in fact, this entire family is. To the back of this property, Sally, that's where the mum of the 7-year-old girl that lived here is at the moment. And the community has been coming in to visit her. She's very shaken. We haven't had an opportunity to speak to her. But earlier, she collapsed in the middle of the road and had to be carried off just because she was overcome with emotion at what had happened.
Utterly tragic story. Desin, any sense of who might be to blame? Are we looking at a potential case of shoddy building work, or is it simply, on the surface, a tragic accident?
Well, Sally, it's interesting that you say that, because just before we started chatting, officials from the eThekwini municipality arrived here and met with the family, and I'm not sure what those discussions were about. But if I could just show you quickly to my left, Sally, this wall is also slanting, and the accusation that's made by people who live here is that there had been some construction recently. I think you'll see some of it here to my left, and they say that that has been work that was done by the municipality. But right now there's no confirmation as to exactly why this happened. We hope that there will be some clarity at least by tomorrow, when we can get some official comment from both the municipality as well as speak to the homeowner.
Thank you very much. That was our reporter Desin Thathia in Durban, giving us the latest on that tragic incident. 2 little girls killed by a collapsing wall, a 3rd little one in hospital, but not too badly injured, we understand, this evening. So, more news for you after the break, and the signing of a wage deal for public sector employees is delayed. Unions say they want more time before putting pen to paper. It's a big talking point in our country now. The ANC spent the weekend focusing on land and the Constitution. The party says government must test Section 25 of the Constitution to see whether it does, in its current form, allow for land expropriation without compensation. Our reporter Samkela Masego attended a briefing on the Land Summit at Luthuli House today.
A contentious issue is dominating the ANC's discussions. Land expropriation without compensation is what the party is committed to, but it needs to figure out how to do this. So it held its inaugural Land Summit this past weekend. The National Assembly has already voted for the resolution. Now ANC-NEC member Ronald Lamula says it's time for government to put Section 25 of the Constitution to the test.
So we are saying let's put the Section 25 into a test through various mechanisms, including the issues of the farm dwellers or labor tenants, where you can use the Section 25 to expropriate.
The summit recommends all spheres of government proceed with expropriation.
As we stand here, there are about 7 national departments with expropriating powers. Provincial governments have got expropriating, local municipalities have got expropriating powers.
The summit also discussed cases of land invasions in the Western Cape and Gauteng. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the ANC-NEC will finalize the summit recommendations this weekend. It's also been recommended that Parliament finalize the expropriation bill so the President can send it to the Constitutional Court. And the ANC wants the National Assembly to pass the Redistribution Act to speed up land redistribution. Samkele Masego, Johannesburg.
Well, it's the season for wage negotiations and unions are yet to sign the public sector wage agreement. Minister of Public Service and Administration Ayanda Dlodlo was not at a scheduled briefing earlier this afternoon. Her department says the majority of unions have accepted government's latest pay offer in principle, but not all members of the Bargaining Council are on board with the wage proposal, with the Federation of Unions of South Africa, FEDUSA, calling for more time to consult with members. The Public Servants Association has not yet agreed to the 3-year wage deal, while Trade Federation COSATU has agreed to sign off on the agreement. Junior public sector employees will get a pay rise of 7%, while mid-level workers will receive 6.5% and senior staff 6%. Recapping your top stories this evening, Nick Mallet, Naas, Botha and Ashwin Willemse summoned to Supersport over Saturday's on-air spat. The broadcaster says they don't believe the incident was racially motivated. Henry van Breda found guilty of murdering 3 members of his family and attacking his sister, and then trying to cover it all up by claiming they were victims of an intruder.
Welcome to the Weather Center. On Monday afternoon, we saw a few patches of cloud threatening to give us showers over parts of central South Africa, but over the western areas, it stayed cloudy and wet throughout the day, thanks to this cold front that hit these parts of the country in the morning. And we have another cold front which is going to maintain rainy weather throughout the night over parts of the Western Cape. So we are going to start off Tuesday with light rain over the western areas of the Western Cape, spreading into the south coast during the course of the morning. A lot of cloud over the western areas of the Northern Cape, and we will see a bit of fog over parts of the Free State. Then later on, things are going to dry out for the southwestern areas. It will be mostly sunny for the rest of South Africa. Fog is forecast in the evening for parts of the west coast. Now we're going to start off Tuesday with drizzly conditions around Calvinia and Sutherland, where it's going to be pretty chilly in the afternoon, mostly sunny and mildly warm for the northeastern parts of the province. It's going to be cloudy and rainy for the first half of your Tuesday over much of the Western Cape, where top temperatures in the upper teens and lower 20s are expected for your Tuesday afternoon. Partly cloudy skies are forecast across much of the Eastern Cape, where it's going to be mild in most areas, mostly sunny for the northeastern sections. We are also going to see partly cloudy skies for southern KwaZulu-Natal, sunny for the northern areas, where it's going to be warm to hot on Tuesday. Mostly clear skies are forecast across much of Mpumalanga, hot for Mbombela and Skukuza, with highs in the lower 30s. Mostly sunny and warm to hot weather is forecast across Limpopo, Polokwane, warming to around 27 degrees. We are going to see a bit of cloud over the eastern parts of the northwest, with Mahikeng peaking at 26, the same for Seerest. It's going to be mostly fine as well for the Free State, with Bloemfontein and Bethlehem warming to around 21 degrees. Gauteng should also see more of sunshine than cloud on Tuesday, with a high of 25 forecast for Pretoria. Then on Wednesday, we are going to have sunny weather across much of South Africa, cloud and rainy, however, around Cape Town. Then on Thursday, light rain is forecast for George, Port Elizabeth and East London. It will be sunny for northern South Africa.
And finally, the build-up to this weekend's Formula One race in Monaco got off to an exciting start. Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen swapped sophisticated Formula One machines for caravans in what is quickly becoming a Red Bull racing tradition. The pair put the cumbersome vehicles through their paces around the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands. Needless to say, the caravans had slim hopes of surviving. The duo will return to their regular machines this weekend at the iconic Monaco street circuit. Here's a recap of your top stories.
Debacle that
You
happened.
speak to SuperSport.
Just speak to SuperSport. Thank you very much.
Nick Mallet, Naas, Botha and Ashwin Willemse summoned to SuperSport and over the Saturday's on-air spat. Broadcaster says they don't believe the incident was racially motivated. Henry van Breda found guilty of murdering 3 members of his family and attacking his sister and then trying to cover it all up by claiming they were victims of an intruder. And that's your news. Take care. Good night.